everyone, and welcome to the Priceless Podcast. If you want to follow this podcast and get news about what's happening with the podcast, you can subscribe to our newsletter, you can follow us on Facebook and Instagram, and you can, of course, visit our webpage. This podcast is made in partnership with the European Forum of LGBT Christian Groups, and we are actually having the conference here at the Paulus Academy in Switzerland, Zurich. This podcast is also part of the series Let Us Be Heard, sponsored by HMS. So it's time to come to our guest today. His name is Csongor Kozma, and he's from Davos, but now he's living in Zurich, as much as I know. He's a theologian, and he's the director of the Paulus Academy, where we are right now having the conference.
I grew up in Switzerland, in that little Swiss town of Davos in the mountains, and the society around me made me feel that I am not Swiss, but I was longing to be Swiss. And later I realized that I'm different also in other ways, but I was still longing for acceptance. And I think this experience made me sensitive for the issues of diversity and inclusivity, and led me to my job as the director of an institution which shares those values. For a very long time, I avoided the thought of being different, which was much easier than nowadays, because in that little Swiss town of Davos in the mountains, there was no gay person I knew of. The turning point came actually when I was watching the Rocky Horror Picture Show, where Frank and Furter at the end is singing, "Don't dream it, be it." I was watching that at that time when I was falling truly in love with a friend from high school, and that made me suffer like a dog. This turning point started a process of about 20 years, of which at the end I have true friends, a beautiful family, a fulfilling job, and the self-confidence to call myself a Christian and a part of a rainbow family. In my comprehension, we are church. You are church, I am church, and not those above us are church, and those people who work for the church and should work for us and not against us. If you say ethics of the church, you mean like dogmas and their behavior towards us, or towards the LGBTIQ community. But that is what I call moral ethics. Ethics is something. Ethics has the structure of a dialogue and not of a monologue. So we have to talk about ethics. That means also that ethics can change. Ethics can change in the timeline, and because it has the structure of a dialogue, and because it depends of people and their views and their context, so context changes. The Paulus Academy was founded after the Second Council of Vatican Council. The motto of that council was open the windows to the world. And so the Catholic Church of Zurich took that very seriously, and it was already, let's say, a liberal church. And so they thought, well, that's a good idea. Let's get in dialogue with the world. And they thought, okay, we need like a place and the center of dialogue for this dialogue with between church and the world. And so how Paulus Academy was funded. Paulus Academy is a center of dialogue in church and in society for, and that's our claim, questions of nowadays. And for this, we have 5 fields of actions The first is theology and religion. And then we have business and social ethics. Then we have the environmental and health ethics. We have also philosophy and politics. The fifth is diversity and inclusivity. There were never no challenges concerning the Catholic Church in Zurich. The Catholic Church in Zurich accepted me from the beginning for who I am. That's the beautiful thing about the Catholic Church in Zurich. Yeah. The institution, the religious institution, the church in this case, you were born into, is like your family. And it's like with your family, the relationship with your family. They may drive you crazy, but you love them anyway. And if you leave them, you leave a big part of yourself. You know, so you can do that, but that's a big decision, and you have to reflect that very well. Well, I decided to stay. My struggles made me sensitive for diversity and inclusivity, and that is also an issue of the Paulus Academy. Of course, it influences my work, and I think also positively. But the other thing is, or maybe I have to say it from another perspective, the origins of philosophy is not the question, who am I, but why me? So those struggles for being accepted in front of the others, but also this self-acceptance, they made me think. That's what philosophy is about. And they made me enter in a dialogue. And they made me look for solutions, maybe compromises, solutions by compromises. And they made me look for creative solutions. I think suffering, not always, but can be an enhancer for finding creative solutions. You know, to return to a former question about the challenges of a part of a rainbow family, maybe it's not like I said. Of course, I heard that there are people who have a problem with me in the church and blah blah, but they don't say it to my face, so I won't look for them and try to argue with them. If they want to tell me something, they shall tell me, but they have to count with my with my energy. I won't. There is no discussion about my family, and yes, unfortunately, I'm a theologian and I can argue why to be a Christian and a member of the LGBTIQ community is not a problem. Well, we, the Paulus Academy, we commit ourselves to organize dialogues, open-ended dialogues. And we believe and we hope that these dialogues are not only for finding solution for a problem, but they are the first step towards a world where every human being can develop freely and responsibly and thrive. I always say I teach what I was taught by my grandparents and my parents. And that is first, every work is good work. My grandfather told me, remember, it's not your work which gives you dignity, but it's you who gives dignity to your work. The second thing is never stop to learn, because what you have in your head, nobody can take away. And the third thing is always be a gentleman. And what is a gentleman? I asked my grandfather when I was a child, and he said that somebody who makes the people around you feel at ease. My parents are beautiful. I thought when I tell my father that I'm gay that he will chase me and from the house and away and everything, but he surprised me. He always surprises me. I had a friend that I didn't want to hide him, and I brought him at home, and we entered, and he just grabbed him and hugged him, and I was like, and then we played Romeo, and he was giving him the best cards. So they accepted my boyfriend, they loved him, they still do, he's my ex-boyfriend, but they have a great relationship, they love me. When I got director of the Paulus Academy, I told my aunt, she's so Catholic, and she told me, it was not reflected, it came from the stomach, from the heart. She told me, oh, your bishop made a big mistake. And she was calling me 3 days after, and she was excusing herself that she didn't meant that, and that was cute, you know. Yeah. She has her principles, but she loves me, and she's struggling with it. But I mean, I struggled also for about 20 years being gay, so she will get that time. We have to be patient with our surrounded family and friends, and hope for the best.
Thank you, dear viewers and listeners, for being with us today. I hope you enjoyed this as much as I did. This podcast is made in partnership with the European Forum of LGBT Christian Groups. It is part of the Let Us Be Heard series, supported by HMS. Don't forget to follow us on Facebook and Instagram, and you can visit our webpage. And of course, you can find the link even to the Paulus Academy down in the podcast description. So don't forget to visit, and maybe you'll find even another interesting link there. So look there. See you next time. Bye, everyone.
Bye.